but for now, we definitely know that Indian interest has been kept in mind. But what should we understand from the statements which has come so far? We have eminent personality Arun Kumar joining with us. Arun, hi, welcome. First question to you is, there has been statements from Prime Minister, of course, Donald Trump. FM has reacted to it, and so as a commerce minister, without divulging much details, they have mentioned that the sectors which were of Indian interest has been protected, has been kept in mind, whether you talk about dairy, whether you talk about agri, but the final contours are still awaited. What do you understand from the statements which has come out so far? Do you think that there is something between the lines we should read?
I would wait to get more detail before really making a more commentary on it. But I think what we need to realize is that the US is India's largest trading partner, and the tariffs-related impasse was threatening the health of this trade. So unblocking this impasse is a big step forward. And I think stakeholders on both sides, not just the negotiators, should be very pleased that matters will now move forward at a faster pace. I think joint statement tomorrow will give us the first glimpse of some of the details of where it's going. But I'd like to say that the contention around tariffs has just sucked up too much of the oxygen in this discourse. And it's good to get that behind us from both countries. While many bilateral conversations were going on, the fact that there was 50% overhang and not a very friendly tone was definitely a big setback. Hopefully, with this, we move forward. But I must also point out some...
Mr. Kumar, on the concessions on the tariff that you just mentioned, and since you have served at the highest level in the US Department of Commerce and also led KPMG in India, how do you personally rank the significance of this 18% tariff deal compared to the previous trade milestones? We are saying it, our commerce minister is saying it, that this is the best deal that any country in South Asia has got. But if we look at the neighbors, some of the countries do have, like better tariffs as compared to India. So how do you rank it?
No, I'm not sure that's exactly correct. I think when Minister Goyal said that India has the best deal in South Asia or this part of the world, I think he's right, because the tariff now rate is talked about now, the reciprocal rate is 18%. But remember that it's 20% for countries like Vietnam, 19% for Malaysia. So, 18% is definitely better than what other Asian countries have got, perhaps with one or two exceptions. Europe, of course, has a 15% rate. So in a way, India's come in the middle. So that's where it's landed. But first, it's a great move from 50% to 18%. It's going to change the entire atmosphere of the conversation. And now the various details need to be worked out, and we need to see what those details are. But I also want to say that in today's world, a lot of the conversations moving away from just trade agreements to other constructs. For example, most recently in the US-India situation, Pax Silica has been talked about. Pax Silica is an alliance of countries that the US pulled together to secure supply chains in semiconductors and critical technologies, essentially to reduce reliance on China. India has been invited to join Pax Silica, and my understanding is that External Affairs Minister Jaishankar, when he's in DC at this moment, that would be part of the conversations on
absolutely
material.
Yeah, the timing of it is very critical, Mr. Kumar. Just at the time when the world was bracing for a trade war, we have a deal with the United States, if you look at it. So what does the speed of all of this speak about the personal chemistry between the two leaders? Because even in comments, from various leaders around the world, this is what has been spoken about and highlighted in a big way, that, it is out of the personal rapport between the two leaders, the kind of bond and friendship that Trump and Modi share.
Well, I think personal chemistry can always lubricate negotiations, for sure. But below that, there are very hard national interests on both sides. So, I think both countries, I'm sure, are looking out for their fundamental interests And yes, the fact that there's mutual respect between the leaders, that's a very important part of how things move forward.
Definitely. Now, from deal point of view, how should Washington look at it, or why they have arrived to this kind of solution? I want to ask you, is it purely, if you talk about it's kind of a geopolitical balancing, or you think it is a trade maths?
Well, I think today geopolitics is driving a lot of trade. You can see that in the tariffs being applied to prevent trading with certain countries. Tariffs are being used as a weapon of geopolitical power, and that's a fact. So the question for India, I think, would be, how do you find congruence in this? And one area of congruence is supply chains in critical areas like semiconductors, rare earths, and so forth. India and the US can be trusted partners, can trust each other. And so the more the two countries can move towards co-production and increased resilience by depending on each other, that's going to work very well for both the strategic issues that are today at the center of trade discussions, as well as the economic issues. So I think that's the opportunity that exists to lift US-India trade relations. The strategic relations should drive it because both countries would want to have supply chain resilience. And,
Yes,
and Black
absolutely.
Silica is an example of that. And before
Yes.
that, in fact, there was Trust, which was launched when Prime Minister Modi went back in February last year, a year ago, to Washington. This is the Trusted Initiative, tying technologies together, succeeding the old ICET. Again, that's an area where if both countries could work together in research, innovation, manufacturing of all kinds of products related to contemporary technology, that'd be great for both countries.
Absolutely. Help us understand, because you have been a former US Commerce official, Mr. Kumar, and you understand the language of trade, so to speak. So help us understand, India is reportedly pivoting away from Russian oil to US and Venezuelan crude as a part of this deal. Is it a sustainable energy strategy for India, or has US successfully, so to speak, used trade tariffs as a tool to dictate India's geopolitical energy alignment?
But clearly the US is using tariffs to try to dictate not just India's, but many countries. There's a friendly country like Canada. So the US has been using tariffs surely for various geopolitical reasons. But I think from India's point of view, if India can get cost-effective pricing on petroleum from other countries, and now Venezuela has been talked about, maybe that works well for the Indian economy.
Right, and again, from your experience, we also want to understand now the announcements have been made from both the side. Do you think it is a kind of a done deal, or you think there could be some obstacles to the deal still?
None of these deals are really done deals. So the good news is that a lot of work has gone in from both sides. And I know that from what I've heard from Washington and what I hear in Delhi, both sides have worked very, very hard on this. And at many points, apparently, they were quite ready to sign it before as well. So a lot of the hard work has been done. So hopefully now it can reach the finish line sooner than in most cases. The other thing I want to point out is that the world is also moving away from comprehensive deals to specific areas of cooperation, whether it's supply chain cooperation or other areas where there's an alignment of interests. So, rather than just having an all singing, all dancing deal, you might actually have agreements on specific points that are immediately beneficial to both sides. We've got to wait and see. I'm just speculating now.
Absolutely. We got to wait and see till, we get the fine print of the deal, and also the final, line, the dotted line has seen the signature. Thank you, Mr. Arun Kumar. Thank you so much for joining us. Well, that was Arun Kumar, the Managing Partner, Celesta Capital, former Assistant Secretary of Commerce and Director General of US and Foreign Commercial Services in the Obama administration, speaking to us on the iconic and the strategic India-US deal that is much discussed since last evening. On that note,